Hi, and welcome to our podcast, Learning Leading Now, where we talk all things education at Mobile County Public Schools. I'm your host, Sally Erickson. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for Mobile County Public Schools, and I'm fortunate enough today to be joined by not one but two Kimberlys. The first is...
I am Sally's coworker, Kimberly Dunn. I also work in the Office of Communication as the Communications Assistant.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Yes.
Now, our very special guest, Kimberly Jones. She is an award-winning counselor at Nan Gray Davis Elementary School. Welcome, Kimberly Jones.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So let's start by talking about what you have done to earn this incredible accolade and your plans for the summer, because this gives you the opportunity for national recognition, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us about what you'll be doing with the national stage.
So this summer in July, we'll be going to Long Beach, California. I'll be going along with a large group of counselors because we actually had 15, I believe, to receive the recognized Ask a Model Program Award, and we'll be traveling with Dr. Monica Motley and Dr. Kimberly Walker. We will receive that award in Long Beach, California. We're all super excited about that. We will receive that at the ASCA National Conference. That's the American School Counselor Association National Conference. So
That's
we're super
fantastic.
excited.
What an
Congratulations.
exciting thing, a trip that you're going to be able to take, and then with
Yes.
fellow educators. Amazing. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you.
Well, I feel like I can speak for a lot of people when I say that the role of the school counselor has certainly changed and greatly improved in the last few years, and it's such a key part of our educational platform. So, Kimberly Dunn, I thought you were going to give us a little bit of an idea
Yes.
about a counseling anecdote when you were in school.
Yes, I have a very fond memory of being in elementary school, and we would do kind of weekly sessions with our counselor, and we would go in there. And this particular week, we went into her classroom, and she kind of gave us a test, and she said, okay, I want you to thoroughly read all of the instructions and then take this test, and then when you're done, hand it to me. So, and of course, it was a very simple test, but the point was to thoroughly read the instructions before you did anything. So everyone's reading, and of course everyone did not read all of the instructions before they started. And at the very bottom, the last thing said, after you have read all of the instructions, write your name and flip your paper over and raise your hand. That's all you had to do, and you would automatically get the full points for the test. Well, the other instructions were kind of crazy. It was like, after you read step number 2, I want you to stand up and sound like a chicken. And like, it was saying a bunch of crazy stuff, but the point was you had to go all the way to the bottom and finish the instructions. And it said, ignore the first 10 instructions and only do this one.
I love it.
And so it was so funny because, of course, no one fully read all of the instructions. So everybody's standing up and sounding like chickens and, whatever the other crazy things were. And then when they finally read the last one, we were like, oh, all we had to do was write our name on our paper and flip it over. So I thought that was a fun way that our counselor was able to really, and it stuck with me all these years, that you really need to thoroughly read those instructions all the way through before you act on something. And that was a simple way to teach us that, like, it's important to really know and understand what you're doing before there's an action or a reaction to it. And so are there certain kind of things that you're able to do in the classroom with your students, exercises that are teaching them kind of how to act and react and deal with those emotions that we experience in today's world?
Yes, definitely. So as a counselor, we focus on different domains. So discipline is one of those, attendance, and then we have like the social emotional part. And so I do classroom lessons. So I see every class every other week for 30 minutes, and I do follow the Ask a National model. That I have standards just like teachers do, and so there's certain things that I would teach to certain grade levels. Of course, we do also have mandated lessons like we teach about bullying, we teach about social emotional awareness, suicide prevention, but we call it social emotional awareness.
Yeah.
We have to teach that. We have to teach about personal safety. And so, we have all those mandated things, but then the rest of it I can kind of play around with and create my own lessons. And so organization is one thing that I do teach, following directions.
I would have done poorly at that. I'm so sorry. I did not read the directions thoroughly.
Yes, I like to focus on goal setting. There's just so many things that I have the opportunity to teach. And sometimes for a certain grade level, I might have a certain topic picked out that I'm going to teach about in that rotation. But then sometimes I have to change it because there might be a certain class and their teacher tells me, like, we're struggling with being kind to each other. Or we're struggling with this or that. So I can create a lesson unique to that class that I can teach them instead that still falls in line with my standards that I have to teach. So it's really, I do have some freedom in that. I don't go by a specific curriculum all the time. So I kind of can just do what my students at my campus need. But school counseling looks different. Different counselors do it differently at different grade levels and stuff like that. But I'm very fortunate that my principal allows me to work within my school counseling role. I don't have a lot of other extra duties that I have to do. He lets me focus on actually being a school counselor. He doesn't pull me very often to do things that aren't related to my specific job title. Yeah. So I'm very fortunate to have Dr. Agnew. Yes. He's amazing. He's very supportive of counselors. And so he's an advocate for school counselors, and it's just amazing. But yes, those are the things I do. In addition to that, I do small group counseling with kids that are struggling with certain things, like maybe their parents are going through a divorce, maybe they had a death in the family, maybe they had a death of a pet. So I can do grief counseling with them. Sometimes kids need social skills. Sometimes kids need self-control. I have tons of different small groups that I do, and those are based on teacher referrals. So I would start out with individual counseling, and if we notice that there's a lot of kids that have the same struggles, then we would create a small group with less than 8 students that go and can meet weekly, bi-weekly, or even monthly, depending on the need. And so I do those small groups because to me, I can have the most impact in those small group sessions. Yeah. And then I offer individual counseling as needed. So in the role of a school counselor, it's usually not ongoing. Like if a student is having like a problem that they need counseling for, after I've seen them like 6 to 8 times, if we're not making a big difference in whatever their problem is, that's when I refer them to an outside agency so they can have mental health counseling or whatever else they need. So we do that. Just all kinds of things. I sit in on PST meetings so that I can help give input on different interventions that students need, or I might actually be one of their interventions. Oh, wow. Checking in with students that have behavior problems. They might go on a check-in, check-out, where I check in with them in the morning, and then if they meet their goals throughout the day, they get to come and play a game with me at the end of the day or something like that. So I do that kind of stuff as well. But I would say at middle and high school, they don't get as many classroom lessons besides the mandated lessons, but those counselors are there for them on the individual and the small group side more than the whole group. But they do also go in and teach the mandated lessons that are required. And they do a lot with scheduling and like college applications and stuff like that. I am not saying that I would be a great high school counselor because I love to be I love to be with the students. And the high school counselor, it's a totally different job than what I actually do.
Oh, yeah, no question.
There's a lot of similarities, but it's not the same job in my opinion. So, it's just different based on where you're at.
Exactly. And I remember when we went and visited your school and came into your classroom, you have such a fun and bright and inviting and comforting classroom. And so how important is it to create a space for those students where they feel safe and they feel like they can have fun and really open up to you, because it's more than just teaching a lesson, it's building relationships.
It is, and I think you can build the relationship no matter where you are. In fact, the first 3 years I was at my school, I was literally in a closet. Oh, wow. So I had to push into classrooms. But my current principal thought it was really important for me to have my own space, so he actually dismantled a computer lab and let me have that space since kids have devices in their classrooms now. And so that's my room, and I just want the kids to love coming there. On the wall it says, "This is our happy place." They beg to come to my room. I have all the bean bags and the bar stools and the fun seats and all
Yes.
that and all the pillows. And
Yeah.
they really like coming in there. So it was really important to me. I don't even remember in elementary school going to the counselor's office.
Wow.
Like,
I
I wasn't
definitely did
inspired
not.
by
Yeah.
a counselor to become a counselor.
Yeah.
But I just remember when I was little, I had a lot of family issues and we had a pretty rough home life. And so I remember my counselor at elementary school. I don't remember seeing her very often, but I remember she had a little box outside of her classroom, like a comment box where you could request to see her. And I would always like want to talk to her, but I didn't feel comfortable because I didn't really know her that well.
Yeah.
And so I would just put on there like, I'm having headaches or something like that because I didn't want to tell the real reason.
Yeah.
And then eventually she'd get me to come to her office and I just wouldn't tell her what my problem was. So I remember that from being a kid, and I want all of my students to trust me and to be able to come to me when they have problems. And so I make it clear from the moment I meet them that I'm here for you and I'm here to support you, and I'll be here no matter what the need is, and you can trust me. You know, and then I have to teach them about confidentiality and let them know, like, I'm not going to tell what you say. The only way I have to tell is if you're in harm's way.
Yes.
You know, if somebody's neglecting you or hurting you or something like that,
Yes.
I might have to talk to someone about it, but I will let you know in advance what's happening. I'm not going to
Yes.
blindside you
Yeah,
and talk
this
to
is
them
a
without
safe
you knowing.
space. Absolutely.
So, yeah, so I love it being
Yeah.
bright, colorful, inviting.
Yeah.
The kids like it too. So hopefully I get to keep my classroom forever.
Yes.
I love having that. It's great. I have windows,
Yes.
so it's nice
Yeah,
having all that.
it was such it was a very sweet space, and I loved all the little sayings on the walls that you had. So it was very cute.
Well, I had popped by Kate Shepherd a few weeks back, and they had a cute little, I guess you'd just call it a comfort closet. And so it was just a very tiny space, but there was enough room for a teacher and a couple of kids to get in there and just kind of sit on the floor and relax and feel safe. And so I just thought that was kind of a cozy little arrangement. But it's nice that you have your entire classroom.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did try that, but the problem with that was I'm not always available. I might have a class or something like that. So we
Yeah.
did have a space that we tried like that. It was called the Calm Room or something like that. And it was right next to my room. But the problem with it was that the teachers, they can't leave their room to go with
Yeah.
a single student because they have their whole class. And I wasn't always available. So I kind of made it in my room to where they could come in there when I'm available, you know. If I don't have a class, the teacher can call me and say, hey, can so-and-so come for a calm down? And I just bring them into my room. And that way they can be
Yes.
monitored and
Yes.
stuff like that. So we kind of split up the stuff in that room between my room and the special education room so that they could have all that sensory stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, one thing that has struck me in recent years about Mobile County Public Schools' efforts to help children with mental and social issues is just the tremendous need for funding. And the school system has funded counselors, I believe, in every school or very close to it. There are, I think, a few counselors who float. But just that statistic alone gives you an idea of what kind of need there is out there. But one thing Denise Reamer talks about in the social services department is a lot of our kids just need the very basic things. They need a clean uniform and they need a nice hot meal. So one of the reasons I believe that you won your statewide award is because you started a care closet at school. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so basically, I just noticed that there was a need for kids with uniforms, and it could be that they've outgrown them, it could be that they're dirty, it could be that they wrote on them with permanent marker, they have
Never want
holes in
that.
them, things like that, or they might have an accident. I think our number one reason to need the uniform part of the care closet is because kids have accidents at school.
Yeah.
And so what we do to combat that, we don't want the parent to have to come up to the school, take off work.
Yeah.
You know, some of our parents can't afford to take off work. And so I just wanted to have like clothes for our students to where the parent didn't have to be bothered. The student could get right back to class. It's not a big deal. You just go and you go to the care closet and you get what you need. And then Actually, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago when I started it. And I noticed that like Shein and Temu bags, you know, those little bags that people order stuff from there and they just throw away the little zipper bags, but they're really good bags. So I made one Facebook post on my personal page that I was collecting Shein bags for the care closet. And I'll tell you, they never stop coming.
They have not run out.
I have thousands of Shein bags, but it's really good
Wow.
because it helps the kids. They're proud of it when they go and they come back with a Shein bag. Like they're a little opaque, so you can't really always see what's in them.
Yeah.
But they kind of brag about it, like
Yeah.
got my Shein bag, you know. So,
Aw.
so that's
It's
kind
the
of
little things.
Yeah.
you know, and that's a free resource, you know. So if a kid has an accident, we put their dirty clothes into the Shein bag with a little note that says what happened. You know, I have the pre-printed notes like I had an accident at this time, and then it says, you know, please wash and return these clothes so we'll have them in case it happens again. But if you need them, to keep them.
Yes.
And so we don't get a lot of clothes back, but that is how they go home. So we have, that is a drive that I do year round. And so when students outgrow their clothes, if they're in good condition, they'll bring them to us. Some of myself and some of the other teachers will take them home and wash them. And then I actually have a leadership team that helps organize them.
Wow.
And we have all these bins that we put them in by size, so it's really easy to locate whatever you need.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I also work with some nonprofit organizations that donate like underwear and things like that because we go through a lot of underwear, and that's one thing we're not going to, you know, take
We're not
use,
gonna
but we'll take their
reuse.
uniforms, you know. So we do have a need for that, and so they donate that. We do an ongoing shoe drive. In fact, I had a student this past week, and his shoe was just flapping. It was just talking to me, and he's like, Miss
Bless
Jones, I need new shoes.
Aw.
But he was like an adult size 9, and we didn't have
It's
any
hard.
in that size. So I just made a Facebook post on my Facebook, and we got such good results. Like the student had a brand new pair of shoes the next day at school.
Fantastic.
So it's really amazing. I'm not scared to ask for donations and help, and
No.
I'll post it on my personal page, on the PTO page,
Yes.
whatever I need to do. And we actually got a lot of donations just from that one post. So,
Yeah.
and we don't ask for that kind of stuff to be new. We just ask for it to be gently used. But the nonprofits also donate like hygiene bags and hygiene items to the closet as well, like shampoo, body wash, hair ties, hair brushes, combs, deodorant. I also had to do it for deodorant because we were out of boys deodorant. Kids come to the care closet every single day for different needs. And if we don't have what they need, I'm going to get it for them.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Wow.
We have a lot of very generous people in our community and, you know, nonprofits and community organizations, churches, things like that, that are willing to donate and want to donate, but don't always know where they can be helpful. So I just let them know.
Yes.
And they
Be
always come through for me.
specific. Exactly.
They always
Well,
come
we
through.
recently were made aware of the Goodwill donation referral program. So if you have a bag of clothes or some furniture or something to donate to Goodwill, if you have the yellow donation card with Mobile County Public Schools on it, you can take it to the donation center. You can't just do it at any drop-off box. It has to be a retail store. And you still get your blue donation card for tax purposes, but they will give a credit, a voucher to the social services department, and that helps our kids, our homeless
amazing.
kids, our families that have had a loss. It's really a neat program, and I just found out about it recently. So.
Yes.
That's
And you
definitely-
talked about those drives. When do you typically have those so that maybe some of our viewers can figure out how to get involved as well?
They're all year round, so
Okay.
I just have posters up in the school, like on the walls
Great.
and things like that. And then if we get low on something, I'll get my principal to make a Facebook post, or we'll put it on the PTO Facebook, or I'll share it on my personal Facebook, or I'll just ask specifically different organizations that are partnered with us that, you know, if you want to help, this is what we need. And they always come through for us. We've had, you know, donations of new jackets. We pretty much have someone that donates new jackets to us every year,
That's
so
so
it's
sweet.
really nice.
So if anyone wants to donate, they can just bring them straight to Nan Gray Davis.
Yes,
and
they can.
They can mention Miss Kimberly Jones.
Or they can
and-
just say care closet and
Care
it will get where it
closet,
needs
okay.
to go.
But see, these are
Perfect.
all things that counselors do that I'm guessing the general public isn't aware of, because that's just part of meeting the needs of our students. Is
Yeah.
you see that a student needs X and you deliver.
Yeah.
And I just think that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
But I wondered if you could talk to us a little bit about the process to become to gain this sort of national recognition as a really top-notch counselor. One of the things Dr. Motley talks about a lot is data-driven counseling initiatives. So can you tell us a little bit about what how that relates to your daily job.
Sure. So I do follow the Ask a National model, and within the model, it gives me clear instructions on what I need to be doing. There's certain things that I focus on during the year, like I have an action plan, and it's a lot of paperwork I do have to do so I can track it so that I can show my data results. But Dr. Walker and Dr. Motley have been so encouraging to me. If it wasn't for them, I would have never even tried for any type of award whatsoever.
Wow.
But they're so encouraging and positive. They're my cheerleaders, and they've given me so many opportunities to become a leader. So when they ask, I always say yes, because can you help this person? Can you show this person how to do this? Can you help with compliance monitoring? I always say yes because I know they're always going to be there to support me, and I want to pay that forward to other counselors as well. But the main reason that I was able to do this is because they started a cohort. And so they basically asked all the counselors, hey, does anybody want to try to go out for the Program of Distinction Award? And so I was one of the ones that signed up. There was a lot sign up, but it's really a lot of work. And so we had some, fall off that it was too much for them at the time. I actually went for it the year before, but I did it alone. And so they didn't have the cohort at that time. And so there was some classes that I had to go take to learn how to apply for the award. And I was not successful because I didn't have the support system.
Yeah.
So the following year, which was last year, Dr. Motley sent it out, and Dr. Walker, he wants to do it. And I was like, that was too much for me last year. I don't think I can do it again. But they encouraged me, and I wound up signing up. And in the cohort, we actually had Cindy Davis come in, like they paid her to come in and teach us how to do it because it's rigorous. It's not easy. It has to everything in all your paperwork has to be specifically and correctly worded. And so if you don't have your language and your verbiage correct, you will not pass.
You have to follow directions.
Yes.
Yes.
You have to follow this direction.
It goes through a process, and they check it to the T. You have a rubric that you go by, and if you don't make the points, you just don't win the award. And so Cindy showed us I think we had 4 classes, but we all got to work together and help each other.
That's
and that's why we
wonderful.
had so many people be successful, because if I didn't understand something, I would just ask this other counselor and she would explain it to me, or vice versa, And so we had that support system there, and we could always call each other up and be like, hey, I don't get this. Can you help me? What did you do? And so that's kind of how we went through the process. And in doing the Program of Distinction, we were also able to apply with the same documents for the recognized Ask a Model program.
Wow.
And so that's how that went. That's the one that I'm going to receive in California this summer.
So great.
So exciting. But as far as School Counselor of the Year goes, Dr. Motley nominated me to represent Mobile County as the School Counselor of the Year. And so I had to do another application process for that. I promise it seemed like I was writing a 15-page paper by the time I answered all the questions. I was like, wow, this is a lot. But I finally got it done, and it's basically kind of like what I'm doing now. I just kind of talked about my program, and I uploaded some documents and, had some proof there of the things that I do for my students. And I don't know, I was chosen. So.
Yes. Well, and I don't think people realize how rigorous it is to even apply for these types of awards and the process that it takes, because it's not something that they're just like, you get an award, no. They're not
It
just
really does
throwing
mean
them out.
something. It really
Absolutely.
is special.
So it adds to just how special it is to be chosen and recognized for that. And I think that it's important for our viewers to understand that. But I also wanted to go back and talk about how important having that community of support around you is. You mentioned that you had so many that supported you, and how now in turn you're trying to use and support others. So can you just talk about how important it is to surround yourself with people that can help you, and then in turn you're able to help others?
Yes, I always like to use work smarter, not harder. If we can help each other and take a load off of someone else, I think that's absolutely what we should do. I will say my first year coming in as a school counselor, the other elementary counselors in my feeder pattern helped me make it through.
Wow.
They really did. I was calling them a lot, and I was like, I need help. I don't understand this. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you please help me? Because just like when I was a teacher, college did not prepare me.
Yeah.
Like, they make you do all this work, and some of it doesn't even apply to your profession, I feel like.
Yeah.
But I was like,
That classroom experience.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I was
diving
like,
into it.
this
yeah.
is one of those what would you do moments, but I didn't have this one in college on the paper that I wrote. I don't know what to do. Please
Yeah.
help me. And so they were always very helpful. They would share lesson plans with me, share what they do and how they do things, and tell me, oh, don't do that. That's not going to work.
I learned the hard way.
And so they were able to help me, and I really appreciated that. They really made a huge difference for me. And so once I kind of got with the program and I knew, okay, I'm not a baby counselor anymore. I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's about the same time Dr. Motley asked me to become a mentor.
Wow.
And so now I mentor new counselors.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Yeah,
A
so I
full
get
circle
to...
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this year I got to go and kind of give like a little pre-prep to all the new
Sorry.
counselors. And I just kind of told them what to expect the first week of school,
Yeah.
stuff like that. I shared with them a lot of resources in a Google Drive, things that they could use, like
What
Meet
to
the
expect when there's a
Counselor.
full moon.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, basically, I just gave them the rundown, and hopefully it was helpful. I did have a few call and ask me questions,
That's
so that was
great.
good. I'm a helpful sharing person, so
Yeah.
if I can help somebody, I'm going to share and I'm going to help them. So I encourage them, call me, I'll help you. I know what it's like to be in your position. It's
Yes.
a little scary,
Yeah.
but I'm here for you. And so I always like to help others, so not just the kids, but the other counselors too. And I think that's really important to kind of like give back the way that those counselors gave to me.
Yes.
I'm a pay it forward kind of person.
I
so.
love that. I love that. I think that's very special.
Well, I do think that a unique challenge, I guess, is the way to put it, that counselors face these days is social media has made it so that most people feel like they can say things or write
Without
things.
repercussion.
Well, yeah, not just that, but just things that they, before social media, they would never have dreamed of saying to someone, especially not to their face. We always had people gossiping and passing notes and, being exclusive and all of that when I was in school. But now you've got this whole new dimension where kids can be incredibly cruel to each other, kind of anonymously. So we, at the beginning of the year, we talked a little bit with Stephen Watts, who's the high school counselor at Citronelle, about the angle of eliminating cell phones, smartphones from classroom hours. And he said he anticipated that would be a huge benefit with mental health. So I wondered if you could talk a little bit about tackling that aspect of mental health for elementary children, because you don't like to think that elementary children have mental health issues, but they certainly do. So
Yeah.
Yes, they definitely do. We're lucky that we have an Alta-Point counselor in-house that is at our school twice a week. I believe she has like 30 students on her caseload. So that's in addition to how many kids I have, and I still work with them as well. But that's a lot
That
to
is a
need
lot.
mental health counseling. Luckily, they do it right there at the school, so the parent doesn't have to get them out and take them to the clinic and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But you would be shocked if you knew, like, what is going on with these 4th and 5th graders. Every year I see it, it gets worse and worse with the cyberbullying.
yeah.
So we teach that early on in the school year. We talk about cyberbullying. We talk about how to report bullying, what to do, how to block people. So that is a lesson that I do teach. And it's not always received. So we do throughout the year have different
Yeah.
things that come up. But luckily we have a really great resource officer. And if it happens off campus, which our students aren't allowed to have phones at school, they get locked in a box if
Yeah.
they bring it, and they don't get it until the end of the day. And so if there's things that happen outside school hours with cyberbullying and it didn't happen on campus, then it gets referred to the resource officer. And I will do follow-up lessons with the students and maybe some small group type lessons for bullying and stuff like that. We will call and notify the parent, but if it doesn't happen on school property, it kind of
Falls
moves
into a
to
gray
different
area,
category,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Well, that is all the time we have. But Kimberly, thank you for all that you do. And Kimberly Dunn, thank you for being with us too. And we will catch you next time on Learning Leading Now.